Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. All our viewers out there, happy Eid to all our Muslim viewers, of course. We begin with what to watch this week. It's dominated by tariffs and also non-farm payrolls from the U.S. that'll be coming out on Friday. Intel has a two-day event. They'll be talking about artificial intelligence. They have a new CEO that's taken over with the struggles that the company has had. Tuesday, we get Eurozone, CPI, and unemployment figures. Wednesday is Liberation Day, as we know. That is where Trump and his tariffs, global tariffs, are supposed to be implemented. Thursday, we get the read into the U.S. labor market, ADP private sector job numbers. We get jobless claims on Thursday. Then we get the big one, non-farm payrolls. We had 151 in February. I think they're expecting about 139. We'll see whether these Doge cuts kick into the public sector. So a lot to analyze with respect to the U.S. Speaking of the tariffs, interesting article from Politico says Trump officials and allies grow anxious about April 2nd tariffs. Very interesting quotes here. I have to share it with the world. If you take a look at this quote, someone who was speaking anonymously and didn't want to be quoted said, and we had to bleep it out, "No one knows what the F is going on," said one White House ally close to Trump's inner circle, granted an immunity to speak freely. What are they going to tariff? Who are they going to tariff? And at what rates? The very basic questions haven't been answered yet. Over to oil prices this morning. I know Trump was threatening extra sanctions on Putin and Russian oil because of the deal, but then traders are not really sure if it's to be implemented. Plus, April is a big month because OPEC is supposed to be releasing, I think, another 138,000 barrels into the market as part of their that voluntary cut that they did a couple of years ago. So Brent, bit of a divergence between Brent crude and WTI. We could see oil face a quarterly loss, even though on a monthly basis could have been at a high. Asia markets this morning, it was I don't know if maybe bloodbath is the word. Look at the Nikkei 225, 4% drop in early trading. The Nikkei now from its December high is down, I think, about 12%. It's actually flirting with correction territory. Shanghai Composite Index, despite PMI data coming out from China that was positive, it fell. Kospi fell. Look at 3% for the Kospi. Hang Seng in Hong Kong. India is actually off. The markets are closed in India for a public holiday. Australia, I think Australia's the Reserve Bank of Australia will be giving its rate decision tomorrow. I think they're expected to hold rates over in Australia, and they will talk about tariffs and the global market landscape. From there, we go to the China PMI numbers. I talked about the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index from the Bureau of Statistics. If you're above 50, you're at par. If you're above 50, you're expanding. If you're below 50, you are contracting. You basically just talk to manufacturers, how your inventory levels, our employment, supply chains, blah, blah, blah. So 50.5 is where we were in March. It was in line with forecasts, slightly higher than 50.2 from February. I think from there we go into the African space. The Bank of Ghana on Friday actually surprised markets, raised their benchmark rate by 100 basis points to 28%. First rate hike since July of 2023. Headline inflation, February was 23.1. Scheme decelerated a little bit from 23.5. I mean, if you go back to what's a full year from now, I mean, you had inflation in the 50s in Ghana, but it's come down, but they seem to be worried about it spiking. So the CPI target, of course, at 8%, it's way below where inflation is in Ghana. I think the next meeting is May. So that was a surprise there. And then to Nigeria, the rest of our news is from Nigeria. President Tinubu on Friday signing the Investment and Securities Act 2025, repealing the act from 2007. There's a lot in this. We just took a few highlights. A composite exchange, essentially, this is a regulatory and legal framework that is supposed to boost our capital markets. You've got delineations of composite and non-composite exchanges. A composite exchange basically has room to list as many different diverse securities as possible. Non-composite exchanges essentially are just specific assets. Really key is formally recognizing digital assets, basically crypto, as securities. So digital asset providers and so on who are formally being recognized. They're already recognized. We spoke to the Director General in Casablanca last year about this. More subnationals have capital raising flexibility in terms terms of being able to raise money as a state on the market. And then they're talking about stricter penalties for financial crimes and things like Ponzi schemes. So Dr. Okomu Oil, who of course is the Director General, like I said, he was reacting to the president signing this. And he said, this is again, Dr. Okomu Oil, who's the Director General, saying by addressing regulatory gaps and introducing forward-looking provisions, this new act empowers the SEC, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, to foster innovation, protect investors more efficiently, and reposition Nigeria as a competitive destination for local and foreign investments. And since we're talking about the capital markets in Nigeria, we'll stick there. We've been looking at earnings now for a number of companies. I've been sticking to banks. I'm still talking about banks, but still going to other sectors as well, because there's a recovery trend, if you will, for 2024. So GTCO released its earnings on Friday, and they were hefty. So gross earnings to over 2 trillion naira, 81% growth there. The net interest income at 1 trillion. Their assets are 14.7, 52% growth there. And you can see that profit before tax at 1.2 trillion naira, profit after tax at 1. DT also declared a 7 naira dividend for the final dividend. Interim was 1 naira, so that brings it to 8, and that's higher than the others. We'll do a full comparison when we get Access Bank, First Bank, and the others. But so far, the dividend that they've proposed is higher than UBA, higher than Zenith, including their payout ratio. Yeah, it's so far, yeah. But then, just not to stick to banks, Okomu Oil, which is in the crude palm oil space, they've got a presence in Edo State, as does Presco, announced a big dividend based on their results. Interim dividend is 10 naira, but the final dividend was 26, bringing their total to 36 naira. Based on where the stock closed on Friday, I think it was at 545, the dividend yield is about 6.6%. The payout ratio, which tells you how much of their profits they're paying out to shareholders, I mean, it came out to 86%, right? You either keep your profits as retained earnings or you pay it out as dividends. And again, this speaks, if you look at their results, they already declared their results earlier, but this is just backing up their healthy results. Again, 73% climb in revenues to 130 billion, profit after tax up 94% to almost 40 billion naira for Okomu Oil. Similar story for Presco, which is also in that crude palm oil space as well. Presco's earnings were also pretty healthy. Again, in the same business, 93% increase in revenue, profit after tax 217%. So, I mean, tomorrow we're going to look at, I think, Fidelity Bank, Boa Foods, more of the
numbers of the telcos.
Yeah, well, I mean, telcos still those are still facing some headwinds, right, with respect to 2024, but for a number of other sectors, from banks, manufacturers, I think Boa Foods, Fidelity's profit after tax was like 270. I'll bet Fidelity's numbers tomorrow. Pretty healthy. UAC, Boa Foods. Yeah, so it's seeing a recovery, basically. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a recovery across board, but we also like to benchmark that, with numbers, for telecom sectors that really took a big headwind. The breweries, for instance, I would like to see what the breweries number are like, because they
did okay. Champions Breweries did all right. We had Champions Breweries CEO there.
No, I know Champions have been doing very well, because there's been a lot of capital injection also in Champions, and the stock price is also going up for Champions. Yeah. So, but in Nigerian breweries, for instance, we'd like to see some of their numbers. We'd like to see a couple of other numbers, across board. The FMCG.
I'll bring it to you. I'll bring it for you. Don't worry. Yeah.
But real quickly, it was very correct, what was said about Trump and the tariffs. So the question is...
the political article,
but some people will tell you that it's political, that it's biased against Trump.
Right,
they will even tell you that there was no person there that was speaking anonymously. But the truth is, the imbalance that has been brought to the market because of this Trump tariff is something that is quite very scary.
Oh, yeah.
How we're going to grapple with it, goodness me only knows how we're going to be able to, react to all of this. And Germany, for instance, was saying that they are ready for those, those tariffs, and it's not going to affect their economy that much. But we're going to see how all of this is going to pan out. I hear we need to go.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's all we have time for.
A big week coming up, big week. We'll see how things flesh out.
All right, thanks so much, Rotus Oddiri, with the Global Business Update.
Okay, we didn't get a chance to have a word in sideways, but you brought a number of important subjects.
Thank you.
But particularly about oil.
Yeah.
The issue is that investors are being cautious.
Yeah.
Now, President Trump said, if Putin doesn't follow the line with regard to ceasefire, he's going to impose 25-50% tariffs on, Russian oil, as he has done with Venezuela. But, even that didn't affect the market significantly. But Goldman Sachs, in a note that they issued yesterday, are saying that there's going to be inflation in the US, there's going to be recession, there's going to be low growth, and unemployment will go up to 4.5%. The Asian markets that you mentioned, they're just responding to the reality that on Wednesday, what
Liberation
Trump
Day.
calls Liberation Day, we will see what he will come up with the reciprocal tariffs and what effect it will have. But thank you very much,
Thank you.
Rotus. Sometimes give us time
So
to respond
indeed.
to some of these issues.
Indeed.
It's not a one view, single story platform.
Indeed.